Welcome back to the Growth Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Jack, and today we have an exciting episode lined up. Joining me is Emma, a life coach and productivity expert. Emma, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jack. I'm really excited to dive into today's topic.
Absolutely. So, we hear the term productivity thrown around all the time. Everyone wants to be more productive, but it can feel overwhelming, right? What's the first step someone should take to become truly productive?
You're right. It can be overwhelming because people often think productivity is about doing more, but it's actually about doing the right things. My first tip is to get really clear on your priorities. Before you start working on anything, ask yourself, is this task moving me closer to my goals?
Please like the video to reach another person like you who wants to learn English, and subscribe and click on bell icon to do not miss the latest uploaded video notifications.
That makes sense. I feel like a lot of people get caught up in busy work, checking emails, responding to texts, without realizing how much time they're losing. How do you recommend avoiding that trap?
Exactly, Jack. Busy work is the enemy of productivity. One strategy one recommend is time blocking. Set aside dedicated blocks of time for deep, focused work, and separate time for administrative tasks like emails. That way, you're not constantly switching between tasks, which is a major productivity killer.
That's such a good point. I've noticed that when I focus on one thing at a time, I get it done faster and better. But what about the inevitable distractions? How do you handle those?
Distractions are tough. I always tell my clients to create an environment that minimizes them. For example, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, use apps that block distracting websites, and set clear boundaries with the people around you. Sometimes, it's also about learning to say no to certain tasks, or invitations that don't align with your priorities.
Saying no, that's a hard one for a lot of people, especially if you're trying to be helpful. Do you have any advice for someone who struggles with that?
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a challenge, but think of it this way. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, usually your own time and energy. It's important to value your time and be selective with your commitments. Start by practicing small. Say no to one thing this week, and see how much more space you create in your schedule.
I love that. So, Emma, before we wrap up, what's one actionable tip our listeners can apply today to boost their productivity?
Great question. My top tip is to start your day with a clear intention. Before you jump into work, take a few minutes to plan the most important task you want to accomplish. Focus on that first, and you'll feel a sense of achievement that will carry you through the rest of your day.
That's amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Emma. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you, Jack. It's been a fun conversation. I hope your listeners found it helpful.
I'm sure they did. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to The Growth Mindset. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. See you next time.